This episode of the podcast is brought to you by Bear Boat Alaska. Up your DIY hunting game with one of their 37-foot adventure yachts. You and 5 of your friends can hunt, fish, set crab pots, shrimp pots, and take DIY to the next level. Bear Boat Alaska is locally owned by a Ketchikan resident who lives here year-round. Call Larry at 907-617-4542 or go to bearboatalaska.com. That's B-A-R-E boatalaska.com and tell Larry you heard about it on this podcast. All right, welcome back to the podcast. Does anybody really care about intros? Why do I always say welcome back to the podcast? You just want me to start, so I'll just start. Abby shot her first Sitka Blacktail buck today.
Yep.
This morning. Rolled out of the tent. There was a little spot down beneath where we were camping that I thought this might be some good terrain. It's been really hot. So they're off the top part of the mountain. They're going to feed down or be down in the timber, come up out of the timber in the morning, hopefully.
Mm-hmm.
There was no fog, which I'd kind of hoped for a little bit to keep it cool and keep it moist. But nothing. But there were 2 does, a little buck, and he shot him.
Yeah, that's about it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Then we took care of it, and you hiked it out. It was, I was a little bit worried going to the spot. Like, not having the boat, it limits us a lot.
Mm-hmm.
So we're on the road system, which is fine. This isn't we're just trying to grind away on the road system type thing. But it is, you do wonder who else has been up there. And we were going up on a Friday, and we saw some boot prints coming down. So we thought, oh, man, maybe they got the weather change. If they hunted the weather change, maybe this stuff's going to be kind of scrambled up. Maybe they're going to be, not really coming out. And especially, mid-August. There's been people up there for sure. So, it was the good time to hit some of these peaks right at the opener. I have that former student who last year, he and his dad shot 3 bucks on top of this mountain that you think there's just no way. Like, you might luck into 1. In fact, they looked into 3 on opening day. And then this year, I think they got 2 up there, same spot. So you think outside of opening day, what are the chances?
Yeah, I mean, I think I was much more worried about the heat. It has just been so hot. And hiking up there, we were... I guess I'll speak for myself. I was very sweaty, and I think I complained a lot.
I think I was right there too. It was so hot because we got out, we had a good breakfast, just make sure we started off on the right foot, and then got up there around noonish or so. So kind of the heat of the day, and it was humid, so it was super sunny, but just humid. And so as you're walking up through the muskegs that are pretty elevated, like there's a definite pitch to them. Mm-hmm. Then you get in the woods and it's musky in there, and it's just damp, and you're sweating so much. There's no way that you can replace the amount of water that you lose, especially if you're hiking about 2,000 feet in elevation. Yeah,
and not only was it super hot yesterday, but it has been, hot for over a week now, right? And it's crazy to think that we live in Southeast Alaska in, I think, the rainiest city in the United States. Yeah. And I'm complaining about how hot and sunny it was.
It always happens. I remember growing up on Prince of Wales, and, you'd have those really hot days in August when you're having cross-country practice. And you're like, why are we even practicing? It's too hot to run. But so you always have them, like you said, and we get so much of that rain in bunches, and in months like October when we get over 20 inches of rain or so. So when you have these long spurts, it's still muddy when you're coming down. But then those things, the foliage is so thick, and we've seen this as we've hiked down a couple of mountains, that a deer can get up and feed and never leave the safety and shade of some of that thick, right at the timberline type stuff. There's enough sunlight that gets in there to grow grasses and stuff, and so they can spend the entire day just kind of picking around that stuff if they want to. They don't have to come out if it's really hot.
Yeah, and especially, I mean, we were glassing from up in some of the more exposed areas, but it is considerably hotter out there in the sun
Yeah.
than it is down in the trees for sure.
Yeah. That's what I was kind of hoping as the sun got to the afternoon, that maybe some of that shady area of the mountain would maybe entice something to come out a little bit earlier. And so I was hoping if sunset was at 8:15 or whatever it was, that, maybe 5:30, maybe 6, something that's been out in the shade for a while, maybe something's going to be enticed to come out. But then you start thinking about, again, the pressure and how many evenings over the past 3 weeks has something come out and either been shot or, got spooked. And so I've kind of learned to stay in there. And sometimes, I think you kind of, I don't want to say give the animal too much credit, but I think sometimes I definitely overthink myself and think that, oh, they're going to do this because of this. And I'm like, no, they're just going to come out and eat if it's safe. It's that simple. I don't have to overthink it.
Yeah, well, and it's hard for me to figure out. I mean, obviously there are spots here that get more or less pressure, but I'm more used to hunting down south, and so obviously the pressure is not like it is down there. So, like, at what point, I guess, are these deer getting enough pressure that they're, like, staying hidden until dark?
Yeah.
I don't think we're quite there here, but...
Yeah, that's the thing, too. It's, you expect to think that, or you expect in Southeast Alaska you would have that same sort of pressure. Like, there's too much public land. There's just too much, but everywhere. It doesn't matter if you're in Southeast Alaska on an island, you're still going to run into people who have flown into the same lake, who are hiking up the same mountain, who have the same program as you. And I've been corked up on a couple mountains here where we told a couple guys, Ryan and I were up on a mountain. He was archery hunting for a bear, and we saw one, and we were just kind of planning on where we were going to go. And 2 Coast Guard guys, and it doesn't matter if they're Coast Guard, they just happened to be in town. They hadn't been in town very long. We talked to them 10 minutes before we saw the bear, and they said they were going to go across to this other mountain. Like, okay, cool. We can see out of each other's hair. You guys are going there. Great. We're going to hunt this. And then they shot that bear with a rifle, like right as Ryan was about ready to go down and stalk. Like, that's a potentially dangerous situation. You think this sort of things would happen down south, which is why you have to wear hunter orange and whatnot. But shoot, it's Alaska. It still happens here.
Yeah, well, and honestly, I'm starting to wonder if Alaska needs a hunter orange rule. Like, working for the Forest Service, too, and just seeing when you're out there every day in August and you see how many people are out hunting, and we hear gunshots almost every day when we're out, except in really remote areas, and we always are wearing orange vests.
Yeah.
Oftentimes because, so we can find each other in the woods, but also for things like hunter safety, so hopefully we don't get bullets flying our way.
Yeah. I think in certain areas it would definitely make a lot of sense. You hear stories about what that 40-mile caribou herd is, and just people everywhere, and people getting caribou that have already been shot 2 or 3 times with small caliber rifles. So people are taking their 223s up there, 243s up there, and they're putting a couple in, and the caribou's running up and over into someone else's hunting area, range, whatever, eyesight, and then them putting it down. And then also people camping on ridges, and the people walking past them on that ridge to get to a certain spot. And I don't know, it's public land. You could do that sort of stuff. There's just a lot of people.
And also, if you're going to wear all camo and have all green colored tents and whatever, then I also think it's like, well, how do you even expect someone to know you're there?
Yeah.
Like, we were saying yesterday, we were like, shoot, we should have set up our tent, because that would have let potentially other hunters know, like, hey, there's other people in this area, which you wouldn't necessarily know.
And it's not to say that we have claimed this mountain. You have to walk back and claim a different one. It's just, hey, if we're here, you can assume that we're going to be hunting this area. So if you want to go to the other side or other face or a different area, then that's fine.
Mm-hmm.
But just there's someone else in this area, just so we don't end up in some sort of problem. Ryan and I talked about that with the caribou hunt up north, where 3 people were stalking the same caribou. And then when it jumped, I ended up having the best shot of everybody. And I'm like, oh, man, if I shoot this way, Ryan's right down there. And if he shoots up, like, it's just, even with archery, like, you get in this potential situation. So it's, we saw a couple other hunters down there. I don't know why they were there where they were. They were really far down on the mountain. It looked like they were in maybe a good rut spot.
Yeah.
But, yeah, who knows how they got back there, what their program was. But it is weird that we're all kind of friends outside of hunting, but when you get on the mountain or when it comes down to spots, it gets a little bit weird. But yeah, I think certain areas, the hunter orange would probably be a good idea. But
yeah, and even if it's not required, like, consider wearing something somewhat high vis.
Yeah. I had was I bear hunting archery with Jesse. And it was as early on in my hunting days, so I didn't have a lot of camo, and I was wearing these, we'd hiked up there, and so it was just kind of my camp sweats that were black. And I had on this, my base layer was black too. And we'd set up our tents, and we were just kind of hanging out there, and there's a guy across the way who's got his rifle pointed at us. I'm like, dude. So I took off my shirt just to kind of say, like, I don't know how you would mistake a human being next to 2 tents for a bear. But the guy was pointing his rifle, and Jesse said, yeah, he's probably glassing you. He probably doesn't even have a bullet in, but it doesn't matter. Like, if you
yeah, that's not cool.
It wouldn't even, I don't know if he has a bullet in or not. He might not even have the bolt in. It doesn't matter. Like that, those sort of things really, really make you nervous. And I don't like, no one would like that.
Yeah.
But, I know. So that's the local thing.
Yeah, it was a fun hunt. Just, beautiful. Other than the thousands of bugs.
Yeah.
And the sun and the pack out.
Yeah, those all make it kind of, it is really nice to be able to have a good hunting spot so close to town.
Mm-hmm.
Like, lamenting the fact that there's pressure, but it is still Southeast Alaska. And as much as we just talked about how Southeast Alaska is busy, there's a lot of people, and you can have hunter conflicts. And up north, you have hunter conflicts, or a lot of people crowding a certain area. But to be able to drive, on the limited road system we have here in Ketchikan, and be able to then hike up a trail or a road or a whatever to get to these alpine places is just so cool to do. And so it was sunny and hot, but set up the little shelter, kind of get out of the sun a little bit. And I mean, if it would have been raining, that would have been a different type of miserable. Like, there's always going to be some sort of misery. It's going to be too hot, it's going to be too buggy, or it's going to be just too wet and slick. And coming off the mountain today, when you got the heavy pack, it's so slick as it is. It hasn't even rained in 3 days. I mean, you're just getting totally muddy.
Yeah.
But some spots you just got to sit down and kind of slide on the butt.
Yep.
After years of fine print contracts and getting ripped off by big wireless providers, if we've learned anything, it's that there's always a catch. So when I first heard that Mint Mobile offers premium wireless starting at just $15 a month, I thought, what's the catch? But after talking to them and using their service, it all made sense. There isn't one. Mint Mobile's secret sauce is that they're the first company to sell wireless service online only. They cut out the cost of retail stores and pass those sweet savings directly to you. For anyone who hates their phone bill, Mint Mobile offers premium wireless for just $15 a month. I was hesitant about having to get a new phone and a new phone number, but with Mint, you can use your own phone with any Mint Mobile plan and keep your same phone and your same phone number along with all of your existing contacts. Mint Mobile gives you the best rate whether you're buying for one or for a family, and at Mint, families start at 2 lines. All plans come with unlimited talk and text plus high-speed data delivered on the nation's largest 5G network. Switch to Mint Mobile and get premium wireless service starting at just $15 a month. To get your new wireless plan for just $15 a month and to get the plan shipped to your door for free, go to mintmobile.com/waypoint. That is mintmobile.com/waypoint. Cut your wireless bill to $15 a month at mintmobile.com/waypoint.
So how do you compare? Like what's like your favorite hunt? You've done antelope in Wyoming, elk in Wyoming, mule deer Wyoming, blacktail up here.
I mean, they're also different. It's hard to I mean, I guess like deer I don't know. I do enjoy like alpine deer hunting where it's kind of like just get up high and just hang out in glass and you could just nap in the middle of the day. It feels, obviously it's a lot of hard work, but also it's kind of lazy at times. And there's just something nice about it. And I think elk hunting, I just tend to second guess myself so much that it can almost become stressful. Antelope hunting just seems like a lot of driving around until you find something you can shoot close to your I mean, I don't know. I haven't done a whole lot of antelope hunting, I guess, but
Yeah, the stuff that we did, at least when I was with you, was, I mean, you kind of get the gist of what the program is, and in that spot, that hunter management area of just, you just drive back and forth and looking for something or hoping that something comes in and fill this property, and then you try to make a move on it. But yeah, there's not a whole, there's some overlap. I mentioned this before that caribou hunting on the North Slope was a lot like antelope hunting in that it's just so flat. You're hoping for just one to kind of be there, and you think, well, how am I going to make a stalk on this thing? The elk one, I think that's where I second guessed a whole lot. I do that with deer hunting up here. Because there was nothing, like what tactic do you employ? You know, what's the difference between information and knowledge? You've watched YouTube videos, you've read stuff, you've listened to podcasts. So all the stuff or a lot of the stuff you know intellectually. But what am I supposed to do in this moment?
yeah, I mean, I think that's maybe, I would say that's true of like rut hunting. So deer rut hunting, elk rut hunting, when you don't necessarily have the visibility, you don't necessarily know, like, was there an animal there that was coming in? And I don't know. I just think something about alpine deer hunting is somewhat similar, like across geographic areas, and it seems like a lot more physical work, and not to say that we don't second guess the area that we're at or the weather, or all that kind of stuff, but it just seems more straightforward.
Yeah. I think it is, as far as like when to move and when not to move.
Yeah.
You know, like I want
that's
to see as much, especially on a new mountain, which this one was. I want to see as much mountain as possible, but maybe that's not the right thing to do. Maybe we should just sit on this one, be totally patient, stay hidden. And we stayed tucked away when we ate dinner, just hoping that would give things a chance to fully feed out, rather than we peek our heads over and they happen to glance up and they're like, well, we're not coming out now. But yeah, just that second guessing of what to do, when to move, when not to. And there's always someone who's like, oh yeah, cover ground, cover ground, cover ground. And other people say, oh, just stay patient. So it's kind of that little bit of both. But yeah, you're right. The rut brings in a whole different set of details. And yeah, it's fun though. It's good to get out and kind of solve the equation, solve the problem, go out there and have some success. And you also have the memories of the hunt itself, just being up there. Great exercise. You come back, you got cravings for burgers and
Yeah.
Russian dumplings and
Yeah.
kinds of stuff.
Lemonade slushies.
Lemonade slushies. Yeah.
Which I don't know if anywhere somewhere in Ketchikan has got to sell one, but
Yeah, it's probably something that might work,
yeah.
but probably not the best thing.
Yeah.
You can't specialize in something like that somewhere like here.
No, especially not in a place that's rainy and cold a lot of the time.
Yeah. Polar Treats hangs on.
Yeah, that's confusing.
It's been around for a long time. There's just enough. They have sandwiches and stuff too, and I think they have wraps and whatnot. So you got sandwiches, wraps, and whatnot. Some of the students talk about it. Then you have other areas, like the two places that really like cook and bake, like kind of the from scratch, New York Cafe and 55 North. Like those places are legit.
Mm-hmm.
Fish House has really good fish tacos, but it's like you're getting from scratch cooking at New York Cafe.
Yeah. Yeah, a lot of other places it seems like they're just I don't know. I don't want to trash on any of them, I guess. But
We got pretty much whatever you would want, maybe, but it is an island in Southeast Alaska with 10,000 people. You're not going to get gourmet. You're not going to have a hotbed of chefs. I bet some of the lodges probably have better food than some of the restaurants, but
probably.
It's still there's definitely places worth eating out. That's for sure.
Mm-hmm.
You got a variety of good burgers. Got some good pizza in town.
Yeah, I mean that's like not a roaring endorsement when you're like, oh, you got a variety of burgers.
No, but they're all good enough to be able to still be in business, which is pretty cool.
That's true.
If you want something that's a little bit nicer, there's a couple places that serve stuff a little bit nicer, and then I think just a lot of people, when it comes to seafood and that, just cook it at home. But
yeah. Yeah.
I was kind of hoping that that frozen lemonade thing, you would have that sounded good on the way down.
Yeah. I'll have to.
We crushed a bag of chips when we got back to the car. Salt.
Yeah. We also didn't eat breakfast or drink any water before noon.
No, I had a little bit of sip before I went out of the tent, just because things can kind of get pretty quick, pretty fast. But yeah, there was really no breakfast, no water. That really put things behind. Then you do the hunt, and you're fighting the bugs. You're taking care of the deer. You're hiking off the mountain, and it's hot. So now you're way off schedule. Body hasn't had water, hasn't had food, hasn't had coffee. It's all jacked up.
Yeah, and you're not really trying to stop and make food or anything when you're like, well, the car's 2 miles away, and then anything you could ever want, like...
Yeah, you don't want to stop too much. The longer it takes, the longer it takes. The longer you wait. You're not going anywhere when you stop, so... little breaks to kind of get your legs back underneath you, but you got to take.
And you don't want to filter water that then you have to carry down to the car.
Oh my gosh, especially we chugged that bottle of water that we had there, but that stinking filter it's time to get a new one. Okay. When that thing, it's the Katahdin Hiker Pro. When that thing is new, it pumps good water, but just a couple too many muskeg ponds. In the Alpine, that thing kind of clogs up pretty quick. Did on the Tundra too. Pumped on the Tundra. So, you need a new filter. Makes it a lot more enjoyable, or at least tolerable, to stop and get water. Yeah. Well, what else you got?
That's about it. It was a fun trip.
Yeah. Need to do some fishing. Haven't fished in a little bit.
Yeah.
But silvers should be are kind of in. Hoping that they really start to showing up. Be good to get out there and get some fish and do some put some fish up. We did half and half pint and pints when we did our light smoke.
Yeah, for canning.
And then put up in the jars. candied jalapenos on top.
Yeah. Yeah, I think we talked about that last year.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah, we have to do some of that. It's nice to have those. You just open up the jar. That's what I like about the half pints. You don't have any leftovers.
Yeah,
You open up
sure.
a half pint jar. You got some crackers. You got some cheese. Or you just put them on crackers. Or mix it with some mayonnaise or something to make a sandwich. There's no
Yeah.
leftovers.
Yeah, good stuff.
Half pints. It's good. Thinking about doing some pressure cooking some venison. I hear that's really good.
Yeah, I mean, we'll see how many more deer we get.
Yeah, it's true. So, all right. Well, thanks for listening. Appreciate it. Make sure you check out the mediocrealaskan.com. You can head over to Substack from the 49th. I'm doing some writing over there. And that'll do it. Thanks for listening.